yeah, heading towards the end of day three of the war against Iran, and I think well, it's fair to say that I think Trump was hoping for a quick war, but this it doesn't appear that there will be any quick regime change operation happening here. How are you assessing it, though? Is how should we, I guess, measure the developments of the war and what to expect?
I think the first thing we can say is that the Iranians have targeted at least 27 bases, including port facilities in the Middle East, ranging from Incirlik Air Base all the way down to Dubai in the Gulf. So the war has been effectively regionalized, and the consequences of these actions cannot really be fully appreciated yet. Everyone knows about the Gulf and what has already happened in the oil markets. Today, the oil markets in Europe opened about 20% higher, simply based on the probability that the oil supply would be disrupted for some period of time. So I think we're headed towards more than $100 a barrel. We'll get there pretty quickly. How high, I don't know, but I think that's going to happen. And if you look at a place like the United Arab Emirates, very inexpensive drones have defeated what appear to be some of the world's most expensive air and missile defenses and put a number of airstrips, airports out of business. You have to understand that in the Gulf, there are all sorts of international conglomerates, especially a lot of Indian conglomerates, that do a huge business through the United Arab Emirates and Dubai. All of this is effectively being shut down. You also have millions of people. There are about 4.6 million Indians who own businesses in the Emirates who are now stranded, and they are a critical component of the economy. In addition to those, there are, hundreds of thousands, probably millions of Europeans, Americans, and others who are stranded. Right now, you've got to cross the mountains down to Muscat in order to find an aircraft that'll take you out. I think the damage that's being done to the oil infrastructure is only now really beginning. We have evidence that some oil refineries have been struck, particularly in Saudi Arabia. I think we're going to see more of that. So we're at the beginning of what is ostensibly a long statements by Secretary Hegseth and President Trump, laced with all this business about the state sponsor of terrorism and how it will have to submit ultimately to Israel and the United States. I think these are very incautious and stupid statements. They don't comport with reality. I mean, frankly, Glenn, if we were interested in combating radical Islam, we would probably be focused on Pakistan and certainly on Syria right now, which is headed by the remnants of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Those two states don't seem to come up for discussion very much. And Pakistan in particular has been the sort of incubator of radical Islam and Islamist terrorism for a long time. So this is really about Israel's interest in destroying Iran and removing it as an obstacle to Israeli military hegemony or Jewish supremacy, however you want to put it. And we're into it. We're committed to it. And I think ultimately logistics will probably have a big impact about the Chinese and the Russians. And when I say concerned, I mean, I wonder how long they sit on the sidelines and allow this to go on, because this is not in their interests, obviously. They want Iran to survive. Iran is a critical component of BRICS. It's part of the Belt and Road Initiative. The Turks want Iran to survive. I haven't heard any complaints out of the Turks about destroying our air base at Incirlik because they know that that's our air base, and they have always been reticent to allow us to operate from that base against anyone we wanted in the region. So I think we're seeing the world sort of move in an entirely new direction. I would argue this is the end of Sykes-Picot. I think the maps are going to change. I'll be very surprised if all these family dictatorships in the Persian Gulf survive in their current form. I think the damage that's being done economically is going to stay with us for some period of time. The Indians have already turned to purchase oil again from the Russians, and that makes perfect sense for them. I'm surprised they ever went along with us to begin with. The dollar is losing airspeed and altitude. I mean, economically, this is a catastrophe. Financially, for us, I think it's a disaster. It's going to take more time, but over time, it's going to get worse for us. Remember, we are the ones that have been boasting to the world about how powerful we are and how the entire world needs to shake in fear of the American military power. Well, then people are going to expect us to perform. Iran, on the other hand, hasn't got to do anything other than survive. As long as Iran survives and the longer the war lasts, the weaker we look, the weaker Israel looks, and the stronger Iran looks. And I think Iran is going to survive. I don't see any evidence that it's going to suddenly pick up the phone, call Washington, and beg for mercy. Don't see that happening. So we're in a real trick. I think at the end of the day, we're going to be swept out of the region. Look at what's happening in Iraq right now. The Shia are rising, and the Iraqi government wants us out of the country. It's wanted us out for years. I think we're going to have to get out. I don't think anybody living in the Gulf is going to want us in proximity to any of their harbors or airports or anything else. So I think this is a developing disaster for us. And Israel's Iron Dome isn't working very well. And although we are definitely trying to fire missiles in support of Israel at air and missile defense, the Iranians seem to have moved technologically much further than we anticipated. They are now able to deliver missiles that have decoys that, produce multiple warheads, and then the real dangerous missile that you're trying to penetrate with flies through while we are preoccupied with decoys. So this is not working terribly well for us. But the interesting part is, in the West, the media, as always, is showing us a wonderful picture of American and Israeli military success. It's quite astonishing. I don't think that's the picture the rest of the world is beginning to get.
Yeah, I recently checked the media, and one gets the impression they're already planning for the new government to take over, and how relations will be shifted. And it's quite strange how the narratives deviate so much from reality. But this is then looking to be a long war. So how do you expect the United States and Israel, for that sake, to be exhausted? Because you said you assume they will be exhausted first, and then I guess it's over. But will they run out of interceptive missiles? Have they limited ability to hit Iran? Or what is it that you expect to first give in? Or is it simply that the Gulf states will demand that the United States put an end to it?
Well, all of the ports that we habitually use to replenish our naval forces and to reload our naval forces with missiles and rockets and so forth, all of those have been destroyed. In other words, we're forced to fall back all the way to India, which is quite a distance from the region. Now, we can fall back to Italy at this point. I think Crete may be just out of reach. I hope so. But the point is that everything that we were accustomed to doing now has to change. War has become a much more arduous task for us. Remember, they've not only shut down the Straits of Hormuz, they've also shut down the Suez Canal for all intents and purposes, because they've shut down the Red Sea. So the commercial picture is grim. The military picture is problematic. And I don't think that we can manufacture missiles at a sufficiently fast rate to keep up with their expenditure. And we have been supplying all the time vast numbers of missiles to Ukraine. And now we're beginning to feel the pain because so much of that is gone. It won't be long, perhaps a few more days, before we begin to more economically expend our missiles. And that means that you can't shoot down most of what's being shot at you. Remember, you're talking about shooting at least 2 or 3 missiles at every incoming missile. and we still can't target successfully and knock down hypersonic missiles. And a lot of these missiles are coming in at Mach 3, 4, 5, and 6. Those speeds are beyond our technological capability to defeat. So I think logistically, yes, we're going to have a huge problem. And we may pause. Now, whether or not the Russians and the Chinese are willing to mediate, or the Indians, I think India would probably be the best choice for mediation. They are, after all, neutral, despite Modi's recent visit to Israel, which I think was ill-considered. But nevertheless, Modi and India have cultural ties to Iran. Sanskrit and Indian civilization are a component part of Persian civilization itself. So I think there's an opportunity for the Indians to bridge the gap between us, the Israelis, and Iran. But we'll have to see. Right now, I think Iran is not dissolving into chaos. Yes, we killed the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, but I don't see any evidence that that has disrupted unity of effort and command and control. So, and the other advantage that the Iranians have, and this is an important one, is that much of their capability is widely dispersed. That makes it very hard for us. And even on the best day, historically, we've had a lot of trouble dealing with anything that's mobile. So, I just don't see in the near term any good news at all. And I hope that we are talking in Washington to others who may be able to help mediate some sort of end to this.